here. I'm here with Banger. We're at the 42 for 42 Memorial Lunch Bang.
Mate, fantastic. What about the crowd here, mate? 200 odd people here to basically pay their respects to the 42 for 42. And they've started the memorial, mate, and that is fantastic. Mully's here. Mate, all the team are here. Spinner's been on, obviously, on our podcast this week.
Yeah.
And some great speakers. Carl Rackerman.
Mate, absolutely. Dr. Brendan Nelson's here, and we hope to get him on for a little quick grab maybe a bit later.
Yeah, mate, it's going to be a big day.
It's just it's just a terrific organisation. And you know, there's families from the fallen that have come from Afghanistan. For as hard as it is, it's about remembering and
that's what they're doing. Mate.
And it's just a really good bunch of people.
They are, mate, and it's great to see Susie Chucker. I mean, she's front and centre. She's and her son Ben Chucker was killed in the Black Hawk disaster, and she is so much behind the 42 for 42. She's one of the committee, obviously, and she put this lunch together today. Susie, we'll have to get a quick chat with her too.
Absolutely,
she's a ripper. And we're about to hear from Dr. Brendan Nelson. You'll be coming on stage here, and we'll grab a few people shortly.
Absolutely.
Enjoy the day, Blakey.
Yeah, you too, Bang.
Thanks, mate. Hey, Blakey.
Yeah.
I've got Susie Chuck here with us, mate. One of the legends of the 42. She does not stop working and she's organised today's lunch.
Yeah.
And also the mum of Ben Chuck, who we lost, unfortunately, in the Black Hawk disaster through Afghanistan. I'm with you here, Suze. Hey, Suze, how are you, mate? Are you going well?
I'm wonderful, thanks. Yeah, really well.
What a great lunch you put on here today.
It's been super. Every year it seems to get better and better. Yeah.
And it is. And the Memorial Garden, Suze, has now been set up. You were one of the ones the other day that did the first shovel.
Wasn't I blessed?
You were so blessed. And how does it make you, obviously, with your son Ben, who died in the Black Hawk disaster?
Yeah, Ben went down in a American Black Hawk accident in 2010.
And his memory is just, you guys just keep it going, which is obviously any mum would do.
Well, whether it's Ben's, you never forget Ben, but it's to honour all the boys.
All of them, good on you. And that's what I love.
And what sort of today mean to you, Susie? Just in sort of a bit of a nutshell.
Well, I guess hospitality is my background.
Yeah.
I love organising functions.
Yeah.
And I think this venue is top rate.
Yeah.
Top rate. And to see everybody come together, the families, the veterans, all our corporate supporters, it's just a great day. It's a get-together and to celebrate. It's more of a celebration.
It takes a village to raise a family.
Yeah,
sure
it does.
And the great thing about Susie actually being in hospitality, when Joe and I got married at the church a couple of years ago, which is at where the Memorial Garden, as you know, Blakey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Susie sort of popped in and jumped in just at the end there when things were all going a bit fresh.
She sorted them out.
Sorted us out. She's a bloody legend. We've got Dr. Brendan Nelson coming on very shortly. Hey, Suze, thanks so much for having a quick chat, and well done with everything you do.
Thanks, Banger.
Good on
you.
Thanks, Suze.
Thank you.
Enjoy the day.
Thank you. Hey, we're still at the lunch here. We just heard from Dr. Brendan Nelson.
Mate, how good was that?
He was fantastic, mate. How good was that? We've got Ian Healy with us. Heels, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm a bit worried. I've got to follow that with cricket shit.
Mate, I'll tell you what, actually, I am actually looking forward to some cricket stuff. It'll be pretty good because it was pretty heavy. It is a heavy day, isn't it?
Oh, it can be. Yeah, I think they've got the balance right.
Yep.
I think they're sort of acknowledging the families of the fallen now who are in attendance. Not celebrating them, but they're certainly acknowledging and recognising them and the right emotions in the right places. And, of course, his history, his ability to recount what happened in our services of the country, Dr. Brendan Nelson, is incredible. And then convey it in a very listenable way. That's good stuff.
Mate, he was A-ticket, wasn't he, really? I mean, just his delivery, three-quarters of that speech was just straight out of his head, it was just amazing, really.
Pretty good for his first time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was pretty good. Yeah. Hey, Heels, you are so involved, mate, in charities and people doing stuff. You're always at these events, mate, and obviously it all means something to all of us. But, mate, today also, I want to also ask you about, you've got a lot to do with this BPL that's going on, the cricket, from a cricket point of view. Yeah. Mate, this is going to be huge. Everyone I'm talking to is talking about it.
Oh, that's good. That's really good because we haven't really started to announce anything yet, and so it's a people thing. They're going to the kids and the senior players seem to want it. It's just a pre-season T20 competition with the modern twist of cricket, that we're all watching and listening online about, the auction of the IPL. Well, we'll have an auction in the senior division of the BPL, Brisbane Premier League, and you nominate. You don't have to play if you don't want to. Nominate, and then the franchises, which is the wrong word. They're sort of like clubs.
Yep.
You take from under 12s right through to seniors. Well, the seniors will be an auction. And the other age groups, 12s, 13s, 15s, 17s and 19s girls, will be draft. They nominate, and then the teams sit around and pick who they need and see what happens. Short and sharp, and get ready for your season.
But, mate, what I love about it, Blakey, is the fact that it's people playing cricket and people will be talking cricket.
Well, it's inclusive. That's what it is.
And it's in Brisbane.
Yeah.
I mean, I think is a fantastic thing for the... And you've got clubs involved in it, players that are involved. I think it'll be really good, mate. I think it's going to be... Looking forward to it.
Yeah. Thanks, Banger. I reckon it should be good. It's everyone's playing 2 2020 games for 4 weeks in a row in the lead up to your season. So we don't want to tangle with traditional structure of cricket. We want to add to it, I think high performance at the very high end of cricket too often say we're playing too much cricket.
Yeah.
They don't understand the parents and the kids with those parents want to play all year round. They want to play 12 months. So it's been popular. The nominations for the drafts and auctions have been big. So that could be an issue. A lot of people are going to miss out.
They will. And a bit like when we were playing Blakey, we used to miss out on getting picked a lot of the time.
Yeah, we did.
I could use you as a mentor.
But the lovely thing with that is it will lead into the club season. Yeah. And it'll be in... When is it on?
The seniors will be the 4 Sundays of August. And our club season in Brisbane here starts first week or second weekend of September. So you're just getting ready. You're having a hit and having 2 hits some days instead of being in the net. So it's good.
So being a part of the Australian team, Ian, for as long as you did, how do you reflect on, what these guys are doing now? And we can relate to it as sporting teams, but, this is so much different.
The military, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, serving for your country. We sort of represented our country. They sort of serve for us, and they're willing to die. It always, it's very remarkable to me that our public and the media sort of just assume these guys are sane and of sound mind.
Yeah.
They're out there under supreme pressure and life pressure for months on end. You can only imagine what a night in Afghanistan is like. Mm-hmm. And they're making clear-headed decisions a very high percentage of the time. So this has always been an inspiration to sporting teams, the stuff that these real representatives of our country do. And I just love the look. When you see the pictures come up on the screen of a young battalion, out doing their stuff, they're a bit dusty and a bit scraggly, but they're helping the locals become better apprentices or better soldiers, all that sort of stuff. They're just young, fit, vibrant, very spirited men and women that are doing it for Australia.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, mate. We've had two of the guys. We've had Sean and also Spin on our podcast series. And
he's a dog handler. It's just a great story.
Wow.
They talk about camaraderie and the family and, but, their finality, if something happens, is their lives.
Yeah.
Just outstanding. It's just very sobering.
So good.
Sporting people are worried about the $800,000 they mightn't get next week,
Yeah.
So, it's serious stuff. They're not doing it for money. They're doing it for real reasons to be good at something, and it could end badly.
100%.
Mate, I can see Rupert's about to get the Heels up on stage, mate. Heels, thanks so much for having a quick chat on Just Having a Crack.
You're more than welcome, boys.
Good on you, mate. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Heels. So I'm here with Jack and Scott. I was taking a walk back to my table, and I just noticed the medals that the guys had out on their chests, and I thought, well, why not go up to them and ask them to have a chat? And Scott, you were telling me that you were a part of the first deployment into Afghanistan.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to be on RTF 1.
Yeah.
So 2006 through to 2007.
Yeah.
With Nick Collins from 42. So Nick was on my trip.
Yep.
And it was interesting times getting in there and patrolling around in places that no one had been in since the Russians had been there. So it was quite interesting.
So what was your role over there, Scott?
I was an assault gunner.
Yep.
Infantry. And I joined in 2000 into 2004 and pretty much straight in
So that was your first deployment?
Yeah, we did counter-terrorism at Com Games at 2006,
Sure.
but for Melbourne, and then straight over to Afghan, and it was my first experience pretty much in a hostile environment, and then it was good. We were there for about 8 months, and very eye-opening, and we were lucky enough to be in a really strong team. We had an amazing lieutenant in Matty Ford, and a really experienced team. I think the average age was about 25 years of age. So, we were lucky. I was lucky, really, to be in that group. And, we travelled near and far and saw a fair bit of the country. It's an amazing place.
Yep.
Hopefully one day that they're not in war-torn sort of scenarios, and they can progress forward and take advantage of where they are, really.
Yeah. So like Molly and Spin, did you come in through Tarankat?
Yeah, TK was the main area. When I got there, the Dutch had just taken over the base, and there was no mess hall. Everyone was in tents, sort of thing. It was very very new. We didn't really have much there, and TV dinners, and when we were on base, no hot showers and nothing. It was very progressive. But it was good to see the development and seeing how it grew from pretty much nothing to, in the end, by the time I left here after 8 months, we had the armoured up accommodation and the mess hall and a little cafe and stuff there.
So you were seeing reward for your effort?
Yeah, definitely. Even the trade school there too, helping out the locals and seeing them.
That must have been pretty cool, yeah?
Oh, mate, yeah. I mean, obviously as infantry, you don't have as much as influence with the locals as the tradesmen. Like the engineers were doing some amazing work and giving local kids something else to concentrate on other than just making bombs and trying to blow us up. Pretty much.
Yeah. And what about you, Jack? Your story, your fair, you were talking about you did a fundraiser. Was it up in Norway, did you say?
Yeah. So I did MTF5 in 2012. Bit of a different trip to you, mate.
Oh, mate, I was gone by then.
Yeah, it was a very different trip. But I got medically discharged. I had an injury to my back, and I had a spinal fusion back in 2015.
Yeah.
And then in 2017, I organised a trip to walk the entire length of Norway, which is from north to south. It was over 2,500 kilometres.
Man, that's fantastic. How many days did that take you?
Because we met up with veterans all through Norway. That was veterans from the UK, the US, Norway, Australia, and Sweden as well. Took us about 5.5 months.
Yep.
And so we basically raised money for Team Rubicon Australia, and we also helped Team Rubicon Norway kick off when we were over there as well.
Yeah.
Good cause.
Mate, and completing that, what sort of range of emotions went through for you completing that walk?
Quite a bit.
I'm sure it would have been.
Between me and my mate, we were carrying between 35 and 40 kilos between us each. Sorry, for the whole trip. The whole idea for the trip was to show that to military veterans who have physical injuries or mental health injuries, it wasn't a setback in life.
Yeah.
It's more of an opportunity for self-progression and growth.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do the whole trip. And during the trip, when we met through all the veterans from the top to the south, at the very end, we had to I gave a speech presentation to the Secretary of State, Second Command Defence Force, Chief Veterans Affairs, Deputy Chief of Veterans Affairs, and all the leaders of the veterans organisations in Norway. And I had to tell them what they were doing wrong with their veteran community, which is quite funny on my behalf.
And confronting.
It was very confronting. It was very nerve-wracking. But to see what they're doing with their veteran community is a hell of a lot more what they're doing than Australia.
Really? More?
Oh, yeah. They're doing an amazing job over there.
Right.
They do have their issues, obviously, and every issue that I brought up, they already knew about as well.
Yeah.
So, but to go from there, and where I actually gave the presentation is where the Chief of Defence Force hosts the Royal Family of Norway.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was actually very close. Funny story. very close to meeting the King of Norway.
Yeah.
So basically, I sent an email to the Deputy Chief of Veterans Affairs. I'm just like, hey, I know the King of Norway is going to be at this restaurant at this time. Can we meet him? Can you ask him? And he's just like, give me a day, I'll get back to you. Next day, his message is like, so the King of Norway knows who you are, what you're doing, and where you're going to be. He would love to meet you, but he's on the county representative's time, so he can't like schedule a time to meet you. But if you run into him, he'll be more than happy to talk to you. I'm like, sweet. Nice. So we get there, and all the Secret Service or the equivalent or the security start chatting to them, and they're all Afghan veterans as well, and start talking to them, and just like, and we tell them what we're doing. They're like, man, we really love what you guys are doing, but we can't let you pass because it is our job to do this.
Yeah.
And we're just like, no worries, dude. We'll just wait from a distance, all good. So yeah, we didn't actually end up getting to meet him, but still, it's quite fun.
The world's a small place, guys. Eh? That's what you do learn. I mean, you know, even in my travels around the world, you learn that a lot of people are really not much different to us.
Yeah, no, they're not. Yeah, most of the Norwegian veterans we met over there was some of the most amazing people too. Even the locals. Like, we got invited into every single place, left, right, and centre. But you see the struggles of the veterans from Norway. They're the same struggles that veterans from Australia, UK, anywhere you go from. Like, one of the vets that joined us was from the UK, and he'd lost both his legs in Afghanistan. But he was one of the most inspirational people I've ever met in my entire life. Like, he had just, even 2 weeks after he had his legs blown off, he was in Germany, in a hospital, and he was making his entire family laugh.
Mate, that's
hilarious.
Yeah, it's incredible. Hey, boys, just on closing, what sort of a day like today mean for you guys?
Oh, mate, for myself, I run a foundation as well down the Gold Coast.
Well, tell us about that.
Yeah, veteran grappling.
Yeah.
So we offer a free service. There's a group of us who are experts in the grappling art, so judo and BJJ and wrestling.
Yeah.
And we have a physio, a EP, and a psych, and we have a GP that comes in once a month. Offers free training for the lads, come in, guys and girls, and just to try and give veterans another mission, pretty much in civilian life. I think that's a big thing. I've been talking about it a lot with the boys here today. Is like 42 for 42. A lot of guys and girls, when they get out, they don't really have a next focal point of what to aim at, and I think that's where they get a bit lost, and that's where we have problems with suicide and stuff like that. Where I think if they've got a mission that they can aim for and they can actually attack, it gives them a focal point. I mean, that's our lives while we're in. We're really focused on what we've been targeted to, and I think it's really important for veterans to maintain that sort of mindset. So whether it's going for a grading in BJJ or judo or your competition, or whether you're walking 42 hours worth of pack marching like the boys here, or any of the other organisations that are here that offer different sort of alternatives of whatever they're interested in. I think the real big thing is offering veterans something else to concentrate on and really give themselves a bit of purpose and something to focus. I think a lot of guys and girls get lost when they get out. They're used to getting up every morning and doing PT at 6 o'clock and just being in that team environment, having breakfast and lunch together, and working out and doing a meaningful task, pretty much. And when that's over, I mean, I was lucky enough. I worked in the AFL a fair bit when I got out, and seeing athletes, professional athletes in that same sort of boat, their times are up normally when they're least expected. You know, their career's over, whether it's medical or the list changes, and that's very similar with the defence. And I think that was a real eye-opener for me, and how I could try and help out and guide guys through. I mean, I've been 10 years out, and I've been through it all, and I'm lucky enough I can share information to the boys and girls and just sort of say, look, if you're looking for somewhere to go or help, I might not be able to give it, but I know plenty of other groups out here that are like this that can really help you in the direction that you want to go. So yeah, that's what we're all trying to do, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, so interacting with other veterans and seeing what they're doing. It's like yourself, like when I found out you were the veterans grappling, I'm just like, hold up, I've heard that. I know exactly who you're actually communicated with and who's working with. So he does with Sean Barry and Luke as well. They do extra specialists. They get veterans into the entertainment industry, into movies and TV series, which like those fellows got me into the movie Danger Close.
Yeah.
So
Great, mate, I love that movie.
Great movie.
So that's actually
6RER Delta Company.
Yeah, and exactly. I was a Delta Company and Alpha Company, and I trade an extra in both Delta Company and Alpha Company, which is fucking amazing.
That would have been pretty cool.
Oh, it was amazing. Yeah. It was absolutely amazing.
We get smashed with it when we get to the unit too.
Yeah. and it's also with the reason I'm here today is because Sam Jemison, who runs Industrial Fitness, and he helps a lot of veterans basically get fit again. I've had spinal fusion in my lower back, spinal fusion disc replacement in my neck last year, and he's been one of the biggest supporters for me to try and get me on track and get my fitness and health back in check. And yeah.
Boys, I'll tell you what I take from talking to you guys and talking to Spin and Mully is that you guys are just one big, enormous family.
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
And I don't think you could have it any other way for the enormity of what you guys have to do.
Yeah, I think that's fair, cool. Yeah, I think, a lot of these boys I met today, they were from another infantry unit or from a different area than what I was in, and it's straight away, as soon as you say where you are and where you're from, they're like brothers straight away, and you don't really need to explain anything. I think you're on the same wavelength, and it's something that's really hard to replicate in the civilian life. I joined when I was 24, and I was a pro athlete before I joined, and the bonds that I've got with the guys that I serve with is completely different to family members or from the sporting point of view. It's
100% right. You can't find it anywhere.
You can't
at all.
You live in each other's pockets. Nick Collins, who's from 42, a couple of weeks ago I run a tackling session for a mate of mine from an AFL club, and Nick was across the road, and he messaged me. He goes, there's a guy across the road who runs exactly like you. I'm pretty sure it's you. And sure enough, it was. And and I haven't seen him for 10 years. And he just knew. And you spend 6 or 8 months together, and you know everything about them, in and out, the way they walk, the way they talk, their habits. You get annoyed with them, but at the same time, you embrace them. And I don't think anyone can really comprehend unless you've actually been there. And I think that's where the more veteran groups that are out there that are offering different services, but the fact that getting them together and offering a common interest, I think is beneficial for the community.
We're at the 42 for 42 Memorial Lunch here at the Queensland Cricketers Club. I'm here with Michael Kasperwitz. How are you, Casper?
Oh, terrific. It's just great to be here and great to be part of such an awesome afternoon.
Yeah, mate, it's pretty humbling, really, when you hear some of the stories like, Brendan Nelson was talking about, some of the fallen and his encounters, mate. It sort of makes our sporting world just a little bit different, doesn't it?
And inconsequential in many ways. And I think that's the thing. We see sport, it's visual, it's on TV, it's sort of all around us. And I suppose when you get the insight and being part of today, you realise what the Defence Forces actually do. And I think when we talk about teams in sport, that's great, it's fantastic, and it's win-loss and all that, but the ultimate team has to be obviously the Defence Forces, the camaraderie, the culture, the people, and what they do for each other is at another level. Yeah,
100%, mate. We've actually had Mully on our podcast as well as Spin. And when you hear about their experiences, they're there for each other, but if they make a mistake, others suffer.
And look,
And themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing. I think even in sport, we do look to that, not just for inspiration, but to sort of to look and get something from it. Like over the years, with the Australian cricket team, we went to the Somme.
Yeah.
I know later on years, the Australian team went to Gallipoli and had those experiences, trying to capture some of that feeling. I guess about team and the ultimate teams, and yeah, it's really, you used the word before, humbling to actually be involved in this with so many great people with the experience they've had in the room and to be part of it.
Yeah. Mate, just on that, when you guys do go as a team, like as a representation of Australia, what do you guys take from that when you go and experience, say, the Somme?
Well, just being there, I suppose you're putting yourself in that situation first and foremost, and as an experience, that's really that's the part that really separates it.
Yep.
Obviously, the landscape's changed a lot. The people, and even when we went to the Somme, Villas Bretonneux, the engagement from the local, the French around Australia. There's a school we went to there that's got all this memorabilia and talked about Australia. So far of us from home, and they learn about Australia, which is quite extraordinary.
Yep, mate. And just finishing, we had Len Pascoe on our podcast only a couple of weeks ago, and he spoke about the baggy green, and he spoke about the ghosts of the past and how you're a custodian of your position within the Australian team. Mate, what's the baggy green mean to you?
Well, I'm the 369th person ever to wear the baggy green, to actually receive a baggy green.
Yep.
And I think that when you break it down, out of all the people that played cricket, represented, or even just engaged in the game, I think that's what separates it, so you know that.
Yep.
As far as, ghosts, there's history, I think, and it's worth celebrating, and we don't do enough of that. The storytelling, the moments, the events, the people. In our sport of cricket, when you come to afternoons like today and see the great work and that 42 has actually done, and recognising, their people, everyone's involvement, sport's nowhere.
Yeah, it's humbling, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
it brings relevance to everything that we do.
Yeah.
Hey, Casper, thanks for coming on 42 for 42 podcast, mate. And,
Love it.
And thanks for your support, mate.
Appreciate it.
Good.
Here at the 42 for 42 Memorial Lunch, and I've got the captain coach here, Sean Mulqueen. Sean, how are you?
Yeah, good, mate. It's been a cracking day. A lot of laughs, a lot of fun. Some emotions running there, I think, especially when Dr. Brendan Nelson got speaking. I think that was really powerful.
Mate, how good was his speech, mate?
Intimidating, I thought, in some of it. The way he just sort of kept going, and I'm going, he's not even looking at in his paper to speak, but his emotions, his passion, I just think it was powerful. I think it was great. Yeah.
And we've got a couple extra gentlemen on the mics, mate. Do you want to introduce them?
Oh, I don't know if I should. There's these boys, they're all right. Well, another one's an engineer, so I can introduce him.
Yep.
And that's Evo. He's come along. He's come to our lunch, come to everything. He supports us well. And Scotchy as well. We will forgive Scotchy because he's a grunt.
Don't hold it against him.
Don't hold it against you. So he waits for us to do all the work. Nah, I'm joking. But when we did, I got a little story of Scotchy here. He put in his registration to help build the memorial. And we put in there, what skills have you got for building a memorial? And we put in there, can dig a hole.
Perfect.
Can dig a hole, mate.
Perfect.
What else do you need?
Not much.
The boys have been big supporters and, just good mates of mine, and they've always supported me and particularly the cause and to get the memorial up and going. They've been part of the journey, and importantly, they know a lot of the guys too that's we've lost there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I mentioned to the boys earlier, Mully, is, what I sort of take from, just chatting to you guys and all that sort of stuff is the incredible power of family, and the bond that you guys have to perform your tasks you do. We spoke to Casper and, we spoke in the Heels and, I mean, they represented Australia. Yes, yes, it was, it's a very important, but, they make a mistake, they lose a game. You guys are an incredibly powerful, bonded group of people.
Mate. Mateship's definitely what the foundation I think the military's made on. got a few stories of mateship with these guys, more probably on the drink than actually working in the army. But but it is. What do you reckon, guys?
I think it's since leaving the Defence Force, having these veteran organisations has been one of the best things, not only for myself but for so many of my mates that I know that discharged from the Defence Force. And I think without those bonds that we form after the Defence Force, I think a lot of people would go around lost and not knowing how to find themselves again after discharging. So I think having these organisations like the 42 for 42 and so many others that we work with is a godsend for some people, and even myself, to be honest. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your story, mate. You mentioned you were in the General Infantry. So what were you were with Mully, were you over there in Afghanistan? Or?
I wasn't with Mully in Afghanistan, but me and my friends started Association of Veteran Surfers. And,
okay. Yeah.
So and then we got into contact with Mully through that. And Mully offered a lot of support to our organisation because we were just starting out, and he'd been through a fair bit with it. So for us to have that guidance from Mully and that help from Mully, which was great because Mully had so much on his hands at the time, organising 42 for 42, to help out us at the same time. I just couldn't believe it. So having Mully as a guide, like that guidance and a mate has been great.
It's a pretty good rap, mate.
Yeah. I'll flick him a 50 later, but yeah. Okay, no, it's all right.
So to set up your foundation around surfing, so what does that do for you, and what does that do for the rest of the group that are a part of that?
I think for us, what it was, we found that when we left the Defence Force, a lot of the time that we were opening up about our mental health issues and whatnot were out on the beers.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, the next day, it was forgotten about. And when we went surfing together, it created an environment where you could talk about these issues safely and confidently. And myself and Matt Hoare, we realised that, and we decided, we need to take this and run with it.
Yeah.
So we set up the AVS, the Association of Veteran Surfers.
Yep.
And at first, our first event, only like 3 people turned up. But it grew from there.
Yep.
And it's grown so much from that point on, and it's helped so many people, and it's those positive stories that you get back that just makes you want to keep on doing it. And that's what I love about the veteran community. And not only that, but because we're surfers, we also fit in with the civilian communities, the other surfing communities, and they're so welcoming with that. And that makes, especially for veterans, when they come out, they might feel a bit different. And when they get accepted into that civilian community, it's crazy to see how different they are. So
yeah, absolutely.
Scott, I think the reason why we feel probably a bit different is I'm happy to charge into fire, but I'm not happy to get eaten by a shark.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, mate, how can people get involved in your foundation?
Well, there's a Gold Coast chapter, and you can go on our Facebook page, or there's a website as well. For anyone else that's listening down to Sydney or the Central Coast, there's a couple of chapters that you can get involved with down there as well.
Yeah, right.
Basically, whether you're a veteran, whether you're just still in the Defence Force, whether you're a family member, any of that association, you can join up. You just got to do your membership form, and then you're in.
Yeah.
You can come along to our surf days. You can compete. We offer surf coaching courses, judging courses, surf camps, the lot. So, yeah.
Yep. And, boys, I've been asking other people that I've been interviewing today, what does this day mean to you guys?
Oh, yeah. Look, I think for me personally, and for some other guys that weren't able to make it today, is it's actually a tribute to Sean and his wife. I've known Sean for a bit over 10 years now. I've had the privilege of seeing what Sean's gone through, and between Sean and Rupert, if it wasn't for them, I probably wouldn't be here today. I had my own troubles, and Sean was there when I went through those troubles, and it was a year after he'd come back from the GAN itself. And that was the second time I ever met this bloke. And so if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. So I try and do whatever I can to support Sean and the cause. And I know there's a bunch of guys from where I sit with, or where I used to sit within the engineer corps. That's primarily the reason why we get behind 42 for 42 is is one of our brethren, Ash Burt. He was one of the lads that was killed, and if it wasn't for Sean being there by my side, picking me up when I needed it, and then supporting me for the years after that, I probably wouldn't be here. So it's a true testament to this guy's character, and that's the reason why we keep coming back to support 42 for 42, because he's the leader of it, and he is the epitome of what most of us guys within the family of veterans from the Afghan campaign are what we're trying to do is, I guess, keep that esprit de corps alive.
Yeah, and that's pretty powerful, mate. You know, like from my experiences, you know, just having somebody to talk to, you know, is just such a powerful tool. You know, not necessarily to solve your problems, but just someone to talk to and don't judge, you know, and just let you have the ability to be able to speak, you know, and you know, it takes a special type of person to be able to do that without drawing conclusions sometimes as to you know, how they perceive how you're feeling.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and I think that's exactly what Scott was saying about AVS and as well as 42 for 42 is we've got two gentlemen here that literally carry the weight of the world of veterans on their shoulders, and they probably don't realise that. And they're probably not going to realise that for the next 20 years until they feel like they've done their part. But I can proudly sit here today and share a beer with these guys and tell them that for the last 10 years, 5 years, and for the next 5 and 10 years, you're doing what needs to be done.
Mate, that's fantastic. Mully?
Yeah, he's yeah, they're good boys, aren't they? No, mate, but that's
fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
But I think I find that with all the guys that served in Afghan, we all went for a purpose. We all believe in that purpose, and we all stick by one another pretty strongly now. And I think the important thing is we don't judge. We know we're there for one another, and that's I think that's what I like to set for the 42. And I think everyone involved does the same thing. We're going to be there for one another always.
At the 42 for 42 Memorial Lunch, I'm here with Mick, and we're having a little bit of a chat off air. And you deployed, or you were over in Afghanistan on the first deployment with Mully, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. So I was lucky enough to be deployed, I suppose, depending on how you look at it. 2010 on MTF-1 with Sean.
Yep.
I was the cavalry troop leader for mentoring Team Charlie.
Sure, and even some of the little things that we were talking about off microphone, something as simple as delivering envelopes or letters to various people, you know, mate, that must have made the experience pretty good to be able to do that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you know, I guess we live in an era now where an envelope with a letter in it isn't as important as it used to be.
Yeah.
You know, because we can get emails and sometimes we can talk on the phone and things like that. But there's nothing as good as receiving a package from home.
Yeah.
And, you know, for a lot of these guys, that package might have had a jar of Vegemite. You know, something that reminds them of home. For me, it was beef jerky.
Really?
Getting my beef jerky sent over from my partner at the time. So, you know, part of our job was to make sure that we were getting convoys together that could be protected, that could take out these packages to the guys living in the patrol bases.
So, were you based in Tarankat?
No. So we operated more out of patrol base Miraway, or FOB Miraway, I think it was called at the time.
Yep.
We did very few trips from Tarankat, but we, you know, as the cavalry troop, our job was to sort of float around and reinforce where we needed to.
Right. And your experiences over there, how would you describe your experience from Afghanistan?
In a word, I guess extreme.
Yeah.
You know, to speak on that is, it was an extreme in the sense that, you know, the terrain was extreme from desert to snow to greenery to rivers, all the way through to extreme people.
Yeah.
You know, people who have, I guess, spent the majority of their life living in poverty in most of the senses, in war for in a lot of the cases. So, you know, the tasks that we were given were, you know, to achieve things under extreme conditions.
Yeah.
You know? It was a difficult setting where you didn't understand just who you were coming up against. And in one sense, you might be a guy might be a farmer, and in the next setting, he might be picking up his AK-47 and shooting at you. So I would sum it up as extreme.
Yeah, you would always have to have your wits about you and be very self-aware and aware of the people around you.
Definitely awareness was important. You know, the awareness based around your situation was so important because the situation could change so quickly.
Yep.
And the situation could change beyond your control really quickly. And I'm not even talking about a sense of being in a warlike setting.
Yeah.
You know, things like a culvert in the road that wasn't there before that you've now hit at 80 kilometres an hour and ripped your axle off.
Yeah.
You know, the setting was extreme all the time. And if you weren't self-aware or aware of your surroundings, you know, you could be in big trouble real fast.
Yep. And Mick, I noticed on your shirt, it's 2 for 14 recruitment. Tell me about that.
214 recruitment. So it came from Cafe 214 was our original business, which is a Brisbane-based cafe chain. We talk about helping veterans one coffee at a time.
Yeah.
So what we do with that is, now don't get me wrong, in the pandemic time we were a little bit more selfish. We didn't have as much money to hand out as we do, but basically it's based around the fact that the more money we can make, the more we can use to support veterans.
Right.
We found a niche. I was getting asked weekly for jobs for veterans.
Yeah.
And so we realised there was an opportunity to create a recruitment business to help place veterans into veteran supportive businesses, but more around educating employers to get them past this stigma that every veteran's got PTSD, because it's rubbish.
Yeah.
It's total rubbish.
Yeah.
You know, you've got valuable people that are unable to get a job because of a stigma. What we're trying to teach is that these people are so valuable to your organisation because even if they don't have the specific skill set, they have been taught how to learn. So these guys can come into your business. Exactly. They're so adaptable. They can come into your business. You can show them what you need done. Give them the opportunity to show that they can be autonomous and then watch your business reap the rewards of that.
Mick, it's actually a really good point, mate, because, you know, when it does come to people's mental health, I mean, yes, you can categorise people, yes, you can pigeonhole, but everybody's situation is different.
100%.
You know, and from, you know, from my point of view, just because you have a mental health issue doesn't mean that you don't have the capacity to be able to function as a human being.
Sure, and you tell me an individual these days who doesn't have some sort of mental health issue. You know, we're talking about guys who have been trained how to be resilient. So yeah, sure, they might have a mental health issue, but what person doesn't at the moment? You know, and these, one of the big issues that we're facing for veterans is people consider that their combat-like situations that they've been involved in has created this inability to be a functioning person in society, and it's total rubbish. These guys become more resilient because of that. Now, don't get me wrong, there are people who struggle with that, but they are getting the appropriate support. We are involved in getting the right people into the right positions with the right employer, and then also educating the veterans who are struggling and providing them with the peer support to get them to that level, but making sure that employers know that they are missing out on
good people,
valuable asset to their company.
Yeah, absolutely. So, mate, while we're here, give your company a plug. So, anybody that you know that might like to jump into this program.
Sure. So, 214recruitment.com.au. That's TWO.
Yep.
The numbers 14recruitment.com.au. Jump on the website, have a look what we're about. We are about putting the right people into the right jobs and educating to create a valuable asset for an employer. Where we're at the moment is we've just positioned a Navy lady who was in the Navy in the 80s. You know, these are people who are struggling to find employment, and we are in a position to help. So if you're looking for work and you're a veteran, please get on board. Please look up the website. Please get in touch because we can help.
Fantastic. And just on closing, mate, what's a day like today mean to you?
Everything. It means everything. You know, I've been told in the past that Dr. Nelson is an inspiring man, but his speech was just absolutely phenomenal.
He was next level.
I honestly didn't know how to, I didn't know what to say at the end. Days like this are everything because it keeps the cohort together. It keeps them supported by their people. And it's all about creating value. You know, you have to keep these sorts of people together, keep them supporting each other. So for me today, it's about the importance of making sure that it's about making sure that people who have done extraordinary service, despite the fact that they think they're ordinary, they get recognised for that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Michael, thanks for coming on, mate.
Thanks so much.
Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. I'm joined at the 42x42 Memorial Lunch by legendary Australian Test bowler Carl Rackerman. Hi, Carl. How are you?
I'm good. Good to be here, and what a great day we've had.
Yeah, absolutely. Carl, you know, for me, I take from today, you know, the sense of family and camaraderie these guys have, and it sort of puts a little bit of a different perspective on me when it say, you know, come to, you know, how we worship our sporting stars, for instance.
Look, I don't know how long we've got, but that's the whole thing. And you see that board with all the fallen soldiers' photos, 41, and then of course 42nd's the blacked out one, and those we've lost since. And there's so many things in sport, well, cricket, but sport that have military connotations.
Yep.
Look, I was asked, my little village or little township, Warrulan, north of Kingaroy.
Yep.
I was asked a few years ago to be the speaker at the Anzac Day service this particular year. So I've grown up there, went to primary school there.
Yeah.
My great uncle Godfrey, who was seriously wounded in World War One in Europe, and was coming home on the boat and passed away on the boat, and he's buried in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
But he's on the honour board in the hall as you walk into it's the Memorial Hall, War Memorial Hall. And I was asked to speak, and really I felt like a bit of a fraud. You know, this is Anzac Day, and you talk about words like heroes, and I made this speech which probably wasn't very good. And I just likened all the sporting terminology that comes from military backgrounds. So someone kicks a ball high in rugby league or rugby union, and it's a bomb. And they throw it. There's a torpedo punt kick, isn't there? And, someone's bowling hand grenades, and et cetera, and it goes on. But it's sport. You see, all that's going to happen is you're going to win or lose the game.
Yeah, that's right. 100%.
No one's lives are on the line, as a general rule.
Yeah.
It's just sport, and you just take these terms for granted. But what we're talking about today, guys are out there, 41 in combat in Afghanistan, haven't come home.
Correct.
And all these torpedoes and grenades, they were real.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just a ball in the air.
Yeah.
And it puts things in perspective, doesn't it? I mean, so look, for me, it was a privilege to be part of the day. But they're our heroes, not sports people, and their families are here. So if we could do something to add to the day by being here, great. But support them is the big thing, and for them to know that people care, I think, is a big thing.
Yeah.
It's just a great day to be part of.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. And it's been interesting because we've had Sean and Craig on our podcast series, and just how they relive and reflect on the situations they were talking about while they were over there, and you know, and being under that sort of pressure. You know, it's just and we're all human beings, but they're doing such an incredible job.
Look, and that word pressure, one of the most famous stories in Australian cricket is the great all-rounder back in the 40s and early 50s, Keith Miller.
Yeah.
And it was put to him that when he played Test cricket, it didn't look like pressure bothered him. The scoreboard didn't worry. He said, because he flew a plane in World War II.
Yeah.
And he said, pressure's being up in the air in a mosquito with a Messerschmitt on your ass. That's pressure.
Yeah.
There's no pressure in the middle of a cricket ground.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, there it is, isn't it?
Yeah. It's interesting. We interviewed Len Pascoe on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he spoke about what the baggy green meant to him, and he spoke about how you're just a custodian of the cap while you're in the team, and then after it, you do have an obligation to keep the tradition going. But he reflected it, and he said it's like the ghosts of the past. You're carrying your hat, and you're representing the past players, but also the public.
Well, you are. You're representing, but you get lost in the game in the moment. You're just playing a game of cricket. But you're the Australian representative cricket team.
Yeah.
You're representing the country.
Yeah.
Or if you're playing for your state, Queensland, you're representing the people of Queensland, which was brought home to us hugely in our first ever Shield win in '95.
Yeah.
The mountain of, back then it was faxes.
It was outstanding.
In the dressing room. It was a mountain of faxes. And you read a few every day. You couldn't read them all. Is what it meant to the people of Queensland who you are representing while Queensland's trying to win the Sheffield Shield for the first time, which we did, but it meant so much to the people of Queensland, and you're representing them in that case, or Australia at Test level. And it's not something you should ever lose sight of. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
You're representing your country, and I mean, that's a good way Lenny put it, that you're, at the time you're out there, you're the custodian of that position in the team. People have come before you and people have come after, and it's pretty important.
Yeah, and just in closing, Stuart Law mentioned when you won the Shield, it took him probably until you started to do your Western tour and all that sort of stuff with the Shield, and he didn't realise the enormity of what he achieved or what the team achieved.
Yeah, and well, that's it. What it meant to the people.
Yeah.
And the whole of Queensland. And I mean, I got picked to replace the injured Craig McDermott, and I got sent to the West Indies, so I couldn't go on those Western tours.
Right.
It was great to be back in the Australian squad and being in the West Indies. You don't turn that away, but I'd have so loved to have been on those Western tours, taking the Shield around and showing it to the towns and the people, and the reception they got was just phenomenal by all accounts. To have been there would have been so special.
Yeah.
And I guess if you hadn't really, and Stewie wasn't the youngest in the team, but he was younger.
Yeah.
And quite forgivable to really not understand what it meant. But that's where you're going to find out what it meant. That is what it meant. And the reception they got when they took the Shield around. I told the story today. One of my cherished memories of that Shield final was on about the third night and coming out through the Cricketers Club and being asked to meet an older gentleman who'd come from Western Queensland. West of his property was west of Stonehenge, which is southwest of Longreach, but way out there.
Yep.
He was 83 years of age and ridden his horse 20 k's into town to catch a bus, to catch a train, to catch a cab, to be at the Gabba, to see Queensland win the Shield for the first time. And that's what it meant to him. He went to that effort, and for me it was a great privilege to meet him. I just got lucky I was Johnny on the spot that got introduced to him, but how's that? I mean, that's phenomenal.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's humbling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you take from today?
What do I take from today? We who attended today listened to Brendan Nelson give, if there's ever been a better speech made, they were lucky to hear it.
Yeah.
Because we were lucky to hear Brendan talk today.
Yep.
And he spoke about, and what everything of today is about, remembering those that we've lost in Afghanistan.
Yep.
And since, as a consequence. And it just should never be forgotten.
Yeah.
And all of those people and their families, all those soldiers, they need to know that people care, and we've got to give them whatever support we can, and they're such a significant part of Australia's general history, obviously military history, and you talk about the ultimate sacrifice, and that's what they've given, and they're doing it for us. We're not over there doing it. They did it.
100%.
And those poor guys didn't come home.
Yep.
We never forget them.
We're changing it up a little bit at the 42 for 42 Memorial Lunch. I have Stephanie and Yana here joining me. How are you going, guys?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really good, thanks. You guys are you guys obviously had loved ones that were over serving their country. From your perspective, what was that? What was that like?
I was married in March.
Yeah.
And my husband left to join the military in May. So married life was very different.
It was very fast.
So not too long after that, Sean did his basic training, his training to be an engineer, and we were based in Brisbane.
Yeah.
At which time he started about a year's worth of training to go to Afghanistan. So I didn't have a huge amount of connection to the military.
Yep.
Even with a husband deploying. I was working. I didn't know a lot of people in the city. And yeah, as far as we were concerned, he was just doing his job.
Yep.
It was a job that he was very, very honoured to be a part of. He joined late, so he was considered quite old in the army at 26. So, before he left, it was very much just him doing his job, and he was very much enjoying it. It wasn't really until afterwards that we realised that the opportunity that he got was like one in a million. It doesn't normally happen so quickly. There's a lot of people in the military that never get deployed. So as an engineer, I think if there was maybe 100 that went in comparison to some of the other regiments. But yeah, that was all we knew. I didn't know any different.
And Yana?
We're pretty much the same.
Yeah.
My husband was 6 RAR infantry.
Yeah.
He got his first deployment in, I should know this because we ended up getting married. We just got engaged, got told he was getting deployed. And so
you guys have got a pretty similar story.
Similar story, yeah. We'd been together a while before that.
Yeah.
So he's done 3 deployments of Afghan.
Yeah.
Last one was the hardest, that was 2010. But yeah, we did the quickie marriage before he went overseas, and that's all we've ever known is army life and deployments and away time and yeah.
Jana and I didn't know each other at all, but
No.
Nick and Sean were deployed together. So Sean's first and Nick's third deployment.
So it was that 2010. Yeah. I think that was the one that ended it all.
Yeah, it must have been.
Oh my
There must have been times where sometimes maybe you needed a little bit of clarity, but you were probably it was hard to find that clarity.
Yeah. Just waiting for that phone call to say that they were okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
While they were overseas.
So I don't want to sort of keep on to this, but it's a bit like what you see in some movies, where it's that waiting that seems to be the hardest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the thing is, if somebody is to pass away,
Yeah.
you will be told.
Yeah.
But if they're injured, you're not.
Right.
So you'll find out first from the media, and then you just have to hold your breath and wait.
And hope you don't
And
get that phone
hope.
call.
So it's almost like a car crash that you see on the news.
Pretty
And you
much.
just hope it's not.
You'd wake up in the mornings and you'd see something had happened and just wait to see if you get that knock on the door or that phone call. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Just,
it
it was, yeah.
Yeah.
I think as well, for me, Sean left Australia Day 2010. And then in the June, a really good friend of ours was killed.
Yep.
And it was his fiancée that alerted everybody to what had happened. And that was the very first time for me that anything had happened, let alone it being something so, so serious.
Yeah, absolutely. And the boys talk about the camaraderie and the brotherhood they have, and the family they build while they're over there. I mean, family would be important to you guys as well, yeah?
Absolutely, yeah, family support. Wives as well who become friends and, yeah, know what you're going through. Being at home waiting as well
Yep.
helps.
Yeah, I think
you try as best you can. And I'm not sure if, in fact, the military had engineered it, but I know that right before Sean left in the December, there was a gathering of the girls. There weren't very many wives, so I think no, I think I was the only wife. There was one other actually, Megan, but otherwise it was very, very, very young guys going over.
Yeah.
Really young.
Yeah. So for you guys, was it a case of you guys had to go and seek that that bond and with other wives or girlfriends, or did it happen, or how does it work?
I'm going to be honest, I didn't get to meet some of the wives until I knew a couple, but it wasn't until Nick got back.
Yeah.
And we had a big gathering at Gathorne RSL, and I got to meet some of the wives that were mates with Nick.
Yeah.
And we've just bonded, we've got this amazing connection now, and they're like family.
Mm.
And we always try and get the boys together to catch up, but before that it was just me and Civvy Life and the friends I've got who were trying to understand what I was going through but had absolutely no idea. And
yeah, I would agree. It was after the fact, or probably during deployment, to be honest, for us, where we nobody can understand, and you very quickly start to form this alliance on people that actually know what's happening. I was pregnant.
Wow.
No family. Working full time.
Stack of hormones.
Sean's missing out on all of
that.
he's just picking it up in the desert. Nothing much to worry about.
Yeah. I think he actually may have even planned it, because I don't think he was really around for my second pregnancy either.
So we
very
met
smart.
2010.
I was pregnant in 2010. Yeah, I found out 4 weeks before he left.
Oh my goodness.
So something that we thought we would wait, but no. But I think because of that, I had a very real understanding that I needed to be okay, and I needed to segment my lives.
Yep.
Because one was so far out of my control, so far removed from anything I had any power over. And so then the other was caring for this baby and looking after myself, doing my job, and just being very hopeful that he would be home to meet his baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. It became very real towards the end that I was about to have a baby and I didn't know if Sean was safe.
For me, what I take from today and speaking to Sean and Craig is it's just really humbling, and we're just normal people, all we're doing is doing a job, in some ways it might have started out as an adventure, in some ways it finishes as an adventure, but my God, what those guys and what people in our armed forces do, I just think it's incredibly powerful what they're prepared to sacrifice.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think I've said to Sean more than once, just signing up is more than anyone I've ever known. So I think, there's a really deep gratitude and respect for the people that sign up.
That's pretty cool. So what does today mean for you guys?
We're the fourth year going.
Yeah.
And
We should have been 5.
It should have been 5.
I think on the first one we thought that we might have been building a memorial. So the fact that we've started, it's very exciting.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's a great time to get together.
It's a good catch up for all the boys as well, because there's sometimes they don't get to see each other, and this is a great excuse to get everyone together. I mean, they can see each other, but it's good to get everyone together and have a catch up, have a couple of beers. is. And yeah.
I actually asked Spin this question. I don't know why I asked it to him, but it must have been just the flow of the. It must have been the flow of the conversation we had, and it was the last question I asked him. I asked him what Anzac Day meant to him. So, what does Anzac Day mean to you guys?
Oh, honestly, I've always attended Anzac Day service with Sean. Sean and I have been together since I was only 17.
Wow.
His grandfather, was in the military, and their family have a deep connection. So it was always something we did. But I think now, in the last 10 years, to attend a service with sometimes thousands of other people and stand next to wives and mums that have not got their person with them, I feel sometimes a little bit guilty, but just deep, deep gratitude for everything that I have, and that we can just spend just even one moment to say thank you to them. My little boy at like the age of, 6 maybe, gave Sue Chuck a big hug at a service, and she said afterwards, grown men and women don't have the courage to do that, and your little boy saw a moment and knew what to do. And I think if everybody could do that, I think that the military family and the people that are affected by it would just get a great deal from it. Yeah.
I'm pretty much the same. I'm going to cry, but yeah.
Jana, Steph, thanks for joining us on the podcast today. It's so refreshing to have a different perspective of what this means to different people, and it's great to get the girls' perspective. Girl
Thank
power.
you so much for having us. It was good to do it as a team as well, and not
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much.
No worries, let's go down to the drink. I'm here with Nick, the Vice President of 42 for 42, here at the Memorial Lunch. How you going, Nick?
Yeah, good, mate. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Tell us about, when did you first go to Afghanistan?
My first deployment was 2006 with the 1st RTF, First Reconstruction Task Force.
Yep.
So that was actually the first deployment of regular troops to Afghanistan. Previous to that, it had only been Special Forces to deploy.
Yep.
So it was a pretty big deal for us, especially.
Yep.
So I was part of, I'm ex-infantry, I was part of the security task group, which originally there was only a platoon of us, and we were tasked to protect the engineers that were doing the reconstruction part of the deployment.
Yeah, right, mate. So that would have had its challenges.
Definitely, yeah. Only being a platoon of us, especially at the start, was a big challenge, especially considering the amount of tasks that the engineers did want to cover. So it took some really good people to figure that out and to work through the tasks. So we had good leadership. Our subby, Matt Ford, was a really good. He had his shortcomings at the start. He was a very new officer, but he was supplemented by our platoon sergeant, Scott Woolley, who was just a phenomenal force, really.
Yep.
And he actually taught 40 to be who he really needed to be, and he ended up being a fantastic officer.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And how long were you over there for?
That deployment was about 6.5 months.
Yep.
So that was September 2006 we deployed, and I came back in March 2007. I came back a couple of weeks before the boys because my youngest was due to be born. So
yeah, right.
It was good that they were able to get me back a couple of weeks early so I could be there for the birth of my second child. So,
mate, that would have been a thrill.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I missed out on all of the pregnancy. Damn.
Yeah. All the hormones.
Yeah. and got back for him to be born. So that was good.
Yeah, cool. And we're here for the memorial lunch, and it's all to do with the memorial that's just kicked off next to Suncorp Stadium. To see that progress now to where you can actually you can begin to touch and feel it. What is that like? You know, how does that feel?
Even just for me, like I wasn't fortunate enough to get on board from the very start. Sean and Pete, one of the original driving forces behind this whole project, got in contact with me, but unfortunately due to my work, I just wasn't able to provide the time.
Yep.
So I was sort of sitting in the wings for the first year or two.
Yep.
So I think it was about the second year that I did come on board and just saw the passion that the guys had for it, especially Sean. You know, it's just it's the reason we're still going, really. There's a lot of other people that have attached themselves to his enthusiasm and his stubbornness, really.
Yeah.
But it's just amazing just to see the fortitude in these people, and now that we've actually started work, it's a very, very emotional thing. I think once it's finally done, I think it'll finally hit home, and you'll see quite a few people, a lot of weight come off their shoulders once that memorial is unveiled.
Some ways drawing conclusion to some things, maybe.
Very much so. Yeah. It's been a long process. I'm sure Sean would have covered all of that, but it will not really shutting a door, but just it's some sort of finalisation to that first dream.
Absolutely. And how long's the build process?
We're hoping only a few months, but at the moment we're sort of, because we're spreading it out over weekends, you know, just to allow, because you know people have day-to-day lives and stuff like that. So the work will be done over weekends over the next few months. But we're hoping to be done by Anzac Day.
Yep.
Fingers crossed.
Yep. Yeah.
But I mean, we had to clear the gardens out last weekend. That was expected to take all day on a Saturday. It ended up taking 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Well, the amount of help we got down.
Yeah.
And families, like we had some really good people down there helping out. We had a group of guys from 2CER came down. We had a whole heap of volunteers that were ex-service across the three branches. And we also had families come down, and everyone just hooked in. And it was just phenomenal. So it is. It's exactly right. And no one was leaving until the job was done. That was the great part. And it ended up getting knocked over in only a few hours. Which is
that's fantastic. And for me, the surprise packer was Dr. Brendan Nelson. I mean, his speech was just, mate, it was just so uplifting.
Yeah. He's a very passionate person when it comes to service. I mean, I remember when he was named as the person taking over the War Memorial, and I personally felt that it was a really good appointment.
Yep.
Because he has always shown that he's very passionate about people who serve and about remembering those that we have lost. And just through that speech, that was a phenomenal speech. I mean, that speech has probably been 2 years in the making, because we've been trying to get Dr. Nelson for a bit now. I think it was last year or the year before we had actually booked him, but it ended up that he was double booked and he couldn't make our luncheon.
Yep.
And he was very, very apologetic about it. To his credit, he said then and there, the next time you need me, let me know, and I'll be there. And COVID hit.
Yeah. I got to tell you, mate, it was worth the wait. There's no doubt about that.
That was a great speech, absolutely. And you could just feel it. You could see the emotion in it, but the whole room could feel it as well. So that was fantastic to witness.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you, Nick? What do you take from a day like today? What does it mean to you?
It gives a lot of other people who not necessarily going to get the chance to feel the things that we feel. and to hear the stories that people aren't always able to tell.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the people here are civilians. We do have quite a showing of, you know, of veterans and families, but there is a large portion of the room that are civilians and may not have any ties to any military or anything like that. So for them to get the picture, or even just a small picture of things that we've been through, the things the families have been through, the families of the fallen, that's a massive thing for me.
It's interesting, mate, because as you know, we've had Sean on the podcast and also Spin, and I know for a fact that, you know, after speaking to these two guys, Evan and I, we sort of finished going, you know, it's just an unbelievable story, and you know, and what I take from it is, you know, the circumstances, the pressure, you know, what you guys had to do to perform your tasks, and to be so articulate and, you know, and reflective of those situations, and to be so open and raw. It's just, mate, to me, it's a credit to, you know, it's a credit to the people that were there.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Nelson hit the nail on the head that, I mean, for me, so I deployed 3 times to Afghanistan. I did RTF1, RTF4 and MTF1. And
Okay.
MTF1 was arguably the most activity of any of the deployments to Afghanistan. And while I was on RTF4, they actually came to us. I remember I was out on an extended patrol. We were vehicle mounted then, so we spent a lot of the time out of the base. And I remember we had a captain in charge of us at that time, and he came to us part the way through that 4-week patrol, which was close to the end of our deployment, and asked us if we would be willing to deploy again in 2010. And that sort of hammered home to me the seriousness of what we were doing.
Yeah.
For them to be coming straight to us while we're on deployment. But also, people have asked me, oh, you know, did you go for money? There's some element of that because, you know, you get paid pretty well.
Sure.
But I do remember in that moment thinking, if I don't say yes and my mates go and something happens to them, I'll just feel the worst.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was ultimately behind my decision to say yes, that I would go.
Yeah. It's Spin says a very similar story.
Yep.
Mully says a very similar story, mate. And that's what I take. That's what I take from today. It's what I took from Mully and Spin's podcast is that incredible bond you guys have, and I suppose in some ways you need to have that too, because, you know, if you have a weak link in the chain, you got to make sure you don't expose it as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, Nick, thanks so much for coming on the podcast, mate.
No.
I really appreciate it. And mate, I'm thrilled to be able to come and spend a few hours with you guys and enjoy the lunch.
Thanks for coming, and we really appreciate the chance to have a chat.
No worries. Thanks, Nick.
Thanks, mate.
Really appreciate it.
Cheers.
Hi, you've been listening to Just Having a Crack. If you enjoyed this podcast, please make sure you jump across to our Facebook page and like our Facebook page, and more importantly, like the podcast on your favourite podcast app.
That's correct, mate. I'm getting my head around this, Blakey, because I am a complete Luddite.
Yeah.
But now to work out subscribe podcast station, people say to me, how do we listen to the podcast? Bang, and I go, well, you go into the podcast app.
Yeah.
And then you put in there Just Having a Crack.
Yep.
Correct? Spelled Havin.
Yes.
Having a Crack, and you hit subscribe.
Yep.
And they all come up.
Yep.
You get all of them. How cool's that?
Yeah, well, it's great because behind the scenes there's a lot of work that goes into our podcast.
Well, there is,
series.
mate. You do most of
Yeah,
it.
well, look, I mean, I'm fortunate enough that you bring the talent and I just clean the back end up. But you know, it's important that, you know, if you like our series, get behind it and support it, because we really appreciate the support. and we really appreciate your comments.
I think so, mate. I think at the moment, what's been really good fun is that we're getting, it's just like having a yarn. I mean, some people are saying to us, it's like listening to a few blokes having a yarn and a chat, and girls now, having a chat and a yarn about life, general, their world, their sport, and it's cool. It's good fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for listening. Look out for the next one on your favourite podcast app, and you've been